Hello and welcome to the B Roll, the official podcast of the PNMC Fest. I'm your host, Angela Ray, and today we are really excited to speak with one of the co chairs of our festival, Javon Johnson. He is a native of Anderson, South Carolina, and the founding artistic director of Bear Fruit Conservatory. He's also a founding ensemble member of the Congo Square Theater in Chicago. He's a member of SAG AFTRA Actors Equity Association. He also holds an MFA from the University of Pittsburgh. Javon is an actor, he is a director, he is a writer. You've probably seen him on some of your favorite shows, including Barbershop 2, Back in Business, Daddy's Little Girls, a Madea Halloween, and he is currently starring in Tyler Perry's The Oval. So please help me welcome writer, director, actor, and the co host of the PNMC Fest, Javon Johnson. Javon, welcome to the B roll.
Thank you. Happy to be here on the B roll. What happened to the A roll? We got an A roll, C roll.
No A roll, not right now.
All right. The B
But
roll.
yeah, like tell me what is the past, I would say maybe 3, 4 years been like for you? I'm gonna start as an actor because I know that things change a little bit once you become a series regular. Oftentimes, you start to get opportunities that come knocking at your door as opposed to you having to go knocking on doors to get them. So, how have things changed since you have been on the Oval?
Tremendously. I mean, like you said, it just changes the scenario in terms of how people respond to you in the industry. A lot of times, I'll say this: a lot of times it's not really necessarily about the talent as much as it is about the exposure and the opportunities. Sometimes, we have some gems out there who just not getting their just due and their moments. And when you have those times in your journey where you have these specific moments, they can change the course of your life in this industry. And the Oval definitely took me up several notches in terms of my exposure as an actor. And you take those opportunities to hopefully show the world what you can do with those opportunities so that it builds on other opportunities. And then the more people see you, the more people are aware of you, the more people say, hey, I like that guy. I like his work. I like his professionalism or whatever it is about him, along with the being associated with the Tyler Perry brand and what he does. It just helps you kind of build on that and keep building your career. So yeah, it definitely changes things.
So, this has been a great time of building exposure and new opportunities for you. I'd love for you to talk about some of your other roles before you booked the role on the Oval. Particularly, like I was recently binge watching Survivor's Remorse, and I forgot that you played a crazy preacher on there. But
Yeah.
talk about like you've had a variety of roles. I mean, you've played a pastor before. Think maybe you and I had a little talk about that or a little talk on set with that. But
Yeah.
you've had a variety of roles. I mean, I've seen you play a thug before. What has
Yeah.
it been like having such a variety of work?
It's wonderful because you don't, at least in my opinion, I don't for myself, I don't want to get locked into one particular lane. I want to be able to flex my instrument and my muscle, so to speak. So going from a thug to a pastor to a butler or to a blue collar father or even a villain, just as an artist all around, I want to be able to step into many shoes and many characters and many situations and be able to embody those roles as much as I may be embodying Richard Halson on the Oval. Um, and plus, I come from the theater. My roots are in the theater. My training is in the theater. And, theater tests you in a different way in terms of the work you do there and the intense training that you do, the amount of time that you put in and training yourself in the craft. It takes a lot of work, and once you really exercise your instrument in that way, and you venture over into television and film, you just hope to be able to have the opportunities that you get in theater sometimes that come in abundance, but you don't really get them a lot of times in television and film. in terms of the kinds of roles that you can explore. So you just hope that you have an opportunity to have an array of characters to test your instrument on television and film. Because definitely in theater, I say most of the work that I do as an actor to that level, most people in television and film have never seen it. Um, you get a better view of it now because you see more of me in the Oval because it's more consistent. It's more episodes week in and week out. So there's more territory there for me to explore Richard Halson and what I'm giving on that show. But there's roles that I played in theater that I don't think people would imagine that I would do that. You know what I mean? But that's theater. That's the nourishing ground work you can do in theater. Um, but I look for that in television and film as much as possible. How can I stretch myself? How can I surprise people with what they think they know about Javon Johnson, the actor? And let me see, what can I shock you with that you didn't think that I could do? So I'm always looking for those opportunities.
So you're talking about this expansiveness in work. I think often we talk about these great successes. You talked about the Oval. I mentioned Survivor's Remorse. You've been on a Madea Halloween. You've done so many different shows. I'm just curious, from film and television, from that perspective, has there been a show or even a movie that you were a part of? Maybe you booked it, maybe you filmed part of it, and for whatever reason, it got canceled for a season. The movie you never finished shooting it because they ran out of money. Because those things happen. Oftentimes, people don't realize how often that happens, or how often you think, "Oh yeah, this is the one." I know I've been in that situation where I
Yeah,
had a role and I was like, "This is it. This is about to put me on the
absolutely.
map," and then
Yeah.
it doesn't.
If
So
you if you're in this industry long enough, you're going to experience that. I mean, that comes. There's a lot of things that just comes with the territory. Ended up on the cutting room floor. That comes with the territory. Being on a hot show that gets canceled way too soon comes with the territory. Getting that dream role and it goes away. Those kinds of things you got to just endure the journey. One of the roles that there's a couple of shows series that I wish they had went a different way. Was the first one was Prison Break because we were shooting that in Chicago. It was a big show for Chicago for that market, and my audition for that show was 2 words. It was like Schofield telephone or something like that. That was my audition. But by the time the season was over, I had bumped my character like 7 episodes that first season, and my character was gradually building up, and becoming more and more a part of the storyline. So I saw the future of the character, but then they took the season, they moved the show to I think Texas, and so everything changed. So I was like, they just took that whole show away from me. You know what I mean? Because I was in Chicago at the time, and actually a lot of people don't know at that time I was in Chicago when I booked it, but I had went back to South Carolina. I was actually taking a Greyhound back and forth to shoot that show a lot of times from South Carolina to Chicago.
talk
So
about that, because I've been seeing, right now there's a potential SAG after strike. And so lots of people are beginning to be a lot more transparent with some of the things that they had to endure for these great moments that we've seen them on the big screen and the little screen. So you were taking a Greyhound, not even the megabus, that's like a double decker with all the plugs and the bells and whistles.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying megabus is bells and whistles, but you were
yeah,
taking a Greyhound bus from Anderson, South Carolina to Chicago.
to Chicago to film Prison Break. And when they moved the production to I think Texas, it was Texas or Florida. I was like, wow, that one got away from me because I saw where that was going for me. And then the other show would be Containment, was a show on CW that I loved the role, I loved the show, and I think it got canceled after this first season. And I was like, I didn't know. I was like, why did this show get canceled? Another show would be The Quiet for BET, which I
Yeah.
thought was a great, college story, college based, HBCU based show since we
Hmm.
didn't have since the different world. You know what I mean? I was really excited about it, but then again, that show got canceled pretty fairly quickly, soon too. So I had quite a few of those scenarios where you just like, man, why did they have? Man, it could have just went on a little longer. I could have, but like I say, you take those things along with everything else you endure in this business.
I would love for you to share if you have another example of taking the Greyhound bus from Anderson, South Carolina to up to Chicago. Do you have more examples of those kinds of challenges or things that you endured to get what you needed to get, whether that is getting to set, whether that is an audition? I have one. I have yet to share it publicly yet, and I don't know when I will. But
Well, you probably want to share it now. This is a good time. Yes, good time. We're on the B roll. Just go ahead and let that roll out.
no, we're talking to Javon Johnson. But yeah, this is Javon Johnson's moment. But yeah, I won't share details. But I did drive over 16 hours. Uh,
Mm.
just because of circumstance and where I was working before I had to be to set. Uh, and so, yeah, do you have other examples? Because I think it's so important for
Yeah.
those people who are watching to know that, you're not crazy, you're not unique. These are things that oftentimes artists do to get where they want to go.
Yeah, it's not about being crazy. I mean, if you're in a space and if you're in a community of people that call you crazy because you have a passion and a calling, you commit to that, then you're in the wrong place. You're around the wrong people. You have to be around people that understand that you have a purpose, and when you align yourself with that purpose, allow that to show you who you need to be close to and who you need to listen to. Because the people that's calling you crazy are probably not the people you need to be investing in or allowing to invest in you. So you
Mm.
need to be around people that's saying stuff like, man, yes, go for it. I understand. I know what that's like. You need a place to stay, come to my sofa. And I've done that plenty of times. I got people in New York. Anytime I went to New York, I was on people's sofas constantly. You know, I took the train one time to audition in New Orleans from South Carolina just for an audition. And these are during times where I wasn't rich. I didn't have a pocket full of money to do this stuff. This is scraping up money. This is making some sacrifices. This is coming from the ramen noodle diet and not the because when your friends out there going out to Red Lobster, Red Lobster was big back in the you thought you was doing something if you was going to Red Lobster back in the
Balling, uh-huh.
yeah, Red Lobster, man. But but you have to make these kinds of. I tell people all the time that this is an industry of sacrifices, and if you're not willing to make the sacrifices, then you're probably not willing to really pursue it and really go for it. Because, and I'm not talking about the superficial people, the people who are just going out for the glitz and glam of it and the quick kind of fame, the microwave people. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people whose heart and spirit is aligned with being an artist and having a career at it. You have to say, I have to make sacrifices in order to achieve. And some of those sacrifices are relationships. Some of them are jobs. There's no sense of, it's very hard to have a sense of security in the workspace and pursue this at the same time. Because some people like those good jobs. And I tell my students all the time, don't get the best jobs. Don't get those best 9 to 5. Don't get those 9 to 5s that will ultimately trap you into that 9 to 5, because you get that health and benefit plan. You get those $25 an hour jobs or whatever. You're making good money, and you get comfortable with being secure financially and being able to provide for yourself and live a certain way. And then you sit there and you say, man, I've been in this place 20 years working at this job. I'm living well, but I'm unhappy because I'm unfulfilled because this is not my dream. My dream is over here, but it's hard for me to detach from this thing that has kept me comfortable and secure. To now, it becomes a big risk. Now I'm scared because now I got to jump off the ledge and I got to say goodbye to all this job that I've been working for 20 years. I got to say goodbye to that and just take a leap of faith. Well, if you set yourself up for that, yeah, absolutely, it's going to come a time where you got to make a choice. So I tend to say, be careful of what you invest in, because you want to invest in those things that keep you on track to pursue the thing that's really going to fulfill you. And don't get caught up. Even relationships too. You got to be careful who you invest in, because just like that job can hold you into a compromising situation, that individual can hold you into a compromising situation. And then you got your heart involved in it, and all the emotional equity that has been built up in that relationship. And then you got to make a choice. When you find out that person is really not going to help carry you through your dream of becoming an artist, and they want to jump ship or deter you to go a different direction. And now you got you got choices to make. So it's a
Yeah,
lot.
even support you, not even just deter, support. I remember somebody asked me, so when are you going to get a real job? So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
So important.
yeah,
So important. You were just talking about how you kind of give your students advice. You teach acting classes. You also teach writing classes. Talk a little bit about that because people can get at you whether they are in Anderson, Atlanta, Chicago, or Texas. You're teaching some of these classes virtually, right?
yeah. A lot of people obviously know me as an actor because that's the most visible thing. But I actually spend most of my time writing, from stage to television to screen. I teach a virtual screenwriting course. It's a 6 month course, and in that 6 month, your goal is to have a very polished draft of your script that you can then either um, shop for the to the industry, or you can either independently produce or just shop for investors. Like but it's a ready-made script that you can stand behind and say, hey, it has all the things it need to have. It just comes down to, is this a project that you're interested in because of the story, but not because of the crafting of the script. So that's the goal of the class, and that's for anybody who's serious about writing. Because it's a lot of work too. It's a lot of work, especially if you haven't written a screenplay before, and especially if you have written a screenplay before, but you've never been taught how to write a screenplay. Because the wonderful thing about all these new streaming platforms is that it's opened up a avenue for a lot of people to become producers and writers and directors who have never really done it before, and they don't necessarily have to get trained to do it. But if you're looking for training, you got to be open to say, you know what, it doesn't matter that I have 5 films streaming right now. I'm in this class. I'm learning stuff I've never been taught before, and it's about elevating. So you have to come to it that way, because having 5 films out there doesn't necessarily mean that you're a great screenwriter or that you're a great film producer. It just means that you got a film streaming on some platform somewhere. But everybody needs content these days because everybody has a platform.
Listen, that's what I was about to say because I'm not gonna call anybody's name out because the platform that is like crazy today got some crazy janky stuff on it. They may be on the come up, and who knows? I might want to shop something to that platform in 2 or 3 years. But like
Right.
you said, it's a lot of opportunity today.
Yeah, it's a lot of opportunities. So I teach writers who really want to elevate their writing game and knowledge of script writing, and really develop a solid story that you would feel comfortable going to Paramount with, or Warner Brothers with, and pitching it, or trying to get a big agency to stand by, that you feel confident about the work, and that's the goal.
And so you are teaching writers how to create their own screenplays, but you've also written your own screenplays. As a matter of fact, you're going to be producing your next feature film this summer. Tell us
Yeah.
what you can tell us about that.
Well, I'll tell you first. I just completed a feature, and it's called Once in a Valentine. So be on the lookout for that. It's a holiday film. Just finished shooting that in Atlanta, which I was the executive producer and director and a co-writer on that project. And now going into another feature that I acquired from a dear friend of mine, who Levy Lee Simons, a wonderful writer. We've known each other about 25, 30 years now. I actually performed in his play in LA many years ago. I loved the play, and I asked him to adapt it to the screen so that I can produce and star in it. And we reprised the role. So he did, and we're working on developing that, and we're going to go in production with that on in July in Atlanta. And then I'm hoping to get a third feature shot, which will be one of my pieces. I haven't decided on which one it's going to be yet, but it'd be one of my original pieces. So I'm hoping to get 2 more features out before the year's out. We'll see, because there's a lot going on with the industry right now. It's
I
kind
was
of
just thinking that. I was like, "Ooh, you said this summer." I mean,
yeah, that's the
I know how
plan.
I voted. I don't know how everybody else voted, but
Yeah,
yes.
I'm saying all that. None of it might not happen.
So for those of you who may be like, okay, so what are they talking about? They just laughing and stuff. I want to laugh. So if you are not aware, right now, in the entertainment industry, the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America, that is the union representing writers for film and television, they are currently on strike, and they have been on strike since May 1st. Uh, Coming July 1st, it's a possibility that both the Screen Actors Guild, or SAG-AFTRA, the acting union, it's possible that them, along with the DGA, which is the Directors Guild of America, could also be on strike. That is not settled yet, but it is a possibility that all three unions could be on strike at the same time. So this the inside laugh was about just wanted to bring you all up to speed on what we have been watching transpire in our industry lately.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's an interesting time.
So
I know where it's going
what'd
to
you
go.
say?
I said it's an interesting time, and everybody's kind of. I think a lot of people are on a little bit on pins and needles because it could be a major turning point for a lot of us in this industry in terms of getting our just due in terms of the work that we put in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you are watching and you're wondering, like, well, what exactly why are they striking? Uh, go to Twitter if you don't even have to have an account. But I feel like I say Twitter because so many things are searchable by hashtags, but you can also go to the trades, Variety, Deadline. And by the trades, I mean the trade publications for the entertainment industry. You can go to some of those trade publications and daily see some of the articles, see what the unions are asking for, see how the producers are negotiating. You can see everything for yourself and have a better understanding of what's going on because depending on the way this goes, this could impact some of your fall programs, some of your favorite fall programs. We just don't know yet.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Just don't know yet. So, um, we talked about Javon, the writer. We talked a little bit about Javon, the director, of course, the actor in film and television. Let's talk about Javon, the collaborator, because I know that you worked on a project maybe what about five? No, maybe I don't know, maybe almost 10 years ago now, with the late great Chadwick. Talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that project that you worked on with Chad.
Yeah, that was Chadwick and I are both from Anderson, South Carolina. Um, Chadwick was a very dear friend of mine. Um, we didn't really connect when we were in Anderson because I was older than him, and so older guys didn't deal with the scrubs. He's a young skinny little dude. We ain't really I ain't pay Chadwick no mind. He was a scrub, you know.
Okay.
So I dealt with his older relatives, like his cousins and all those individuals. I grew up with them, so I never really dealt with Chadwick in our hometown. I didn't really reconnect with Chadwick until he was at Howard University, and then that began our the foundation of our relationship began on that, and that happened because we was in the midst of creating Congo Square Theater Company in Chicago, and one of the original artistic director and founder, Derek Sanders, graduated from Howard. And he said to me, whose roommates at University of Pittsburgh, he said, "Man, there's only one other person I've ever met from Anderson, South Carolina." And I said, "Get out of here. You don't know anybody from Anderson, South Carolina." I said, "I haven't even met anybody from Anderson, South Carolina, outside of Anderson, South Carolina." He was like, "No, man, there's one guy, man. He's at Howard." I was like, "Man, whatever." He was like, "I'm going to take you there. I'm going to take you there. You're going to meet this guy because he's from Anderson, South Carolina." I had no idea he was talking about Chadwick. And so I walk into the dorm and he's like, "Hey, man, I want you to meet this guy." And it's like, I'm like, "Chad." He's like, "Javon." I was like, "Hey, man." And so that began our relationship. One, because at that time, I had no connection with anybody from my hometown that was doing what I was doing and I didn't even know Chadwick was doing it. I didn't know he was at Howard studying it. So when we met, it was like, oh my gosh, we're from the same place with the same interests and the same degree of passion about it. So that was big for us, because not a lot of us from that town that's
I know
doing it.
somebody else from there too. So
Yes, I'm pretty sure I'm too then. But, but yeah, at that time, it was a rare thing to find somebody like that that you connect with. So our relationship was over. I guess I don't know, maybe about 20 something years. We did a lot together. Chadwick was a writer. A lot of people don't know that he was a writer. A lot of people don't know that his real passion was for directing, more so than being an actor. The acting thing took off at a time that he was actually trying to become a director at that level. But he's been in my plays. I've been in his play. He had a play called Deep Azure that I was in, that we did at the Apollo Theater and did the premiere at Congo Square Theater Company in Chicago. He was in my play Breathe that we did at the Lark Theater in New York. We did it somewhere else too. And then I wrote this piece while out in LA, I wrote this short film called Heaven. I initially wrote it for Chadwick to star in. I think at that time he had done 42, or one of the major movies he had done at that time. And I wrote it, and I told him I want you to star in it. He read it, and he came back and said, I love it, but I want to direct it. Should have been a big shock to me because I know, like I said, he always wanted to be a director. But it wasn't my plan. I was like, no, I need you to be. So we argued about it for a little bit because I was like, no, man, I wrote this for you to star in, blah blah blah. And I was like, who are we gonna get if you're gonna direct it? I was like, okay, fine, direct it. Yeah, go ahead and direct it. And then it was like, now we had to have auditions, try to cast this role that I originally wrote for him. But yeah, we shot it in LA over 2 or 3 days in LA, and it was a great experience. It was wonderful. And that piece is called Heaven. It's a short film called Heaven. I did the festival circuit for a little bit, and yeah, that's the last piece. To my knowledge, that was the last piece of cinematic content that Chadwick directed before we lost him.
And is that the film with April Parker Jones?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I remember watching that.
Yeah, April Parker Jones and Walter Fauntleroy, who is Sam on The Oval. He plays my best friend on The Oval. He was in it as well.
Okay. It's been a while.
I was in it too. I was in it, but I ended up on the cutting room floor at my own film. That's where it go, people.
That is hilarious. So there's this amazing event coming up in August called the PNMC Fest in Portland. So as co-chair, what are you most looking forward to experiencing in Portland at the festival?
You know, I've been to Portland once on a different situation with somewhat of a writer's retreat. I was there for about a week. I didn't see a lot of Portland, mostly downtown area, and I love the atmosphere there. So what I'm really looking forward to with this festival is I want to see more of us. I want to see because it felt good. The climate, the artistic climate there felt good to me. I just didn't get enough of it in a short period of time that I was there, and I heard about a lot of great art happening in Portland. I just didn't get my feet wet enough. And I want to, hopefully with this festival, I can just touch the community as much as possible and get to know Portland community, artistic community as much as possible. And hopefully inspire some people and give them some information and some knowledge, just, give them some fuel to keep going and see some wonderful work too. What are they producing over there in Portland? It's a little bit off the radar to me, when we think about the industry overall, but sometimes in those offbeat kind of communities is where these diamonds and pearls are hiding. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Portland in the artistic community at the festival this year.
I'm going to tell you, I'm looking forward to the art. I'm looking forward to networking, but I'm looking forward to the food. But that's me. I'm a foodie, so I'm definitely looking forward to experiencing some of the food in the Pacific Northwest. And of course, with you being co-chair, I'm sure that people will have an opportunity to see you. Maybe, we don't know, maybe in a reading, maybe doing a workshop. Who knows? But
you gotta come and see.
Gotta see. Yeah, you got to come to Portland August 17th through the 20th to find out exactly where Javon Johnson will be and what he'll be doing at the festival. Well, Javon, do you have any closing words for us as we get ready to wrap up our time together?
The only thing I'll say is August 17th through the 20th. Don't miss it. If you can get there, get there. It's once a year. The last time we had the festival was during the pandemic. It was virtual, so we were very limited. But this time we're up close and personal. So make your plans now because you don't want to miss this one.
Absolutely. And then you want to share your social media with everyone as well so they can know how to reach out and touch, find out what Richard is going to be up to this next season of the Oval. I know you have lots of fans. There's another show that I host, and a while back you made a second appearance on the show. it was last minute for both of us. And my mom texted me and was like, "You didn't tell me Javon was going to be on the show." And I was like, "I didn't know." So I know you have a lot of fans. So let the fans know how they can reach you.
That's funny. You can follow me on all social media at I am Javon Johnson, and that's JAVON, and also the website JavonJohnsonProductions.com. Pretty much put all information, postings, and things like that on social media and the website.
All right, Javon Johnson. I am Javon Johnson. Definitely a pleasure to catch up with you again. Writer, actor, director, producer, and the co-chair of the PNMC Fest, Javon Johnson. It's definitely been a pleasure having you on the B roll, and we look forward to seeing you in
Yeah,
Portland.
yeah. We'll see you soon.
All
See
right.
everybody. We'll see all of you soon.